All right, welcome back to the Dent Men podcast. I'm Hussein Rajabi, your host. We've got Masood, one of our hosts, and Dr. Milad again, our third host for our 11th episode. And we're going to be diving deep into the world of dental hygiene with someone who truly knows how to elevate it, Miss Renee. Renee is a clinical consultant with Banco Dental with over 30 years of hands-on experience in dentistry, from leading hygiene programs across 65 offices to mentoring teams on clinical excellence. She is a powerhouse for optimizing dental practices. Today, we're breaking down the biggest challenges in dental hygiene, specifically time management, patient care protocols, how to balance it all with a tight appointment window. And we're going to talk about technology as well, of course. This can't be, not about technology. So let's dive right in. Renee, welcome.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. If you want to do a quick intro about your own self, where you came from, your why is really important. And then Masood always has tons of questions. So do I.
Love it.
And of course, Dr.
No
Milad
pressure.
has got the experience. So let's start from there. Tell us, who is Renee and what is her why? Let's go from there.
My why is patient care. I love seeing people smile again. And just even when I started out as an assistant 30 plus years ago, just changing smiles and getting people back to health. There's nothing more rewarding to me, and I'm sure to you guys as well, as, a patient getting out of the chair and just over the moon about, their new smile or feeling better or just getting someone out of pain. I'm a big promoter of oral cancer screens. I personally have saved a life with it. My mother, I've seen a hygienist on her first day of being a hygienist detecting squamous with, oral cancer screening. So to me, it's all about that patient care and just relating to your patients. And then, when my hands just decided that, they were done, no more clinical, all of that fun stuff, I evolved into the coaching and director part of dentistry. And I love it. Seeing hygienists, doctors, admin staff having that aha moment of, oh yeah, that makes sense. That, that's such an easy way to do it. So to me, it was just kind of a natural transition to go into the coaching and the just guiding and things like that. So, that's me in a nutshell. We live in North Alabama, as you can tell by the lovely Southern Belle accent. So if, you hear things that are just kind of way out there and crazy, that's just me, getting redneck for you guys. But that's just me in a nutshell.
That's awesome.
Living life.
You've got that Southern charm, and that's really cool. I like that.
And for audience that are watching, at some point in my life, I worked with Miss Renee, and she was my clinical mentor. I asked her a lot of questions. I picked her brain. I bothered her all the time. She used to come and say,
but he was great. He was great.
He's like, I told you, stop being annoying. And I'm like, oh, keep being annoying.
Stop it.
That's awesome. All right. I'll ask the first question, and this is about...
The question I want to ask is
go for it, buddy.
Here he goes.
Yeah, a few days back, I was talking to Mila on the phone, and then he was talking about something about hygiene related, and then he was trying to convince me that the hygienist is not a dentist. They are different. And I was like, dude, I already know. And he said, yeah, like hygienists are the ones that clean teeth. So
we're not just cement scrapers, thank you.
Why you have to do this to me, Masood, every time?
Yeah, I'm always like honest. So maybe Milad has to watch out what he tells me, because every time I catch his hand. Why don't you tell us what is a hygienist? What does a hygienist do, and what's the biggest barrier in your field?
So a hygienist is, the basis of our job is to restore and maintain good oral health for our patients. Our patients, just like within a doctor's office, they will tell 8 times out of 10 us more than they will tell a dentist. Hygienists, we can't diagnose, of course. We can say, hey, this tooth is bombed, it's going to need a root canal and a crown. But, of course, it's the dentist end all be all. Same with perio. We can give recommendations, and, we can identify the problem. And of course, it's the dentist's diagnosis that confirms what we already know. But, a hygienist is so much more than just a tooth scraper. We we educate not only our patients, our team members, our doctors. Doctors, no offense, guys, you guys are so laser focused on what's above the gums. You depend on your hygienist to pay more attention to what's going on with the tissue and things of that nature. So, my advice is always trust your hygienist. And if you don't trust your hygienist, then it's not a good relationship. Your hygienist will go out on a limb for you and will be your biggest champion, but it has to be a two-way street too. There's nothing more deflating to a hygienist than to talk to your patients about their period condition, and this is what they see, and this is what you need to do, and the doctor to come in and say, let's just do a probie. So, having that two-way street conversation and the doctor knowing that a hygienist knows what she's talking about, but, it's his job to back her up. I know that was a way roundabout way to answer your question, but, we are tasked with promoting and establishing good oral health and helping our patients maintain their good oral health as well.
I also want to add this. I think the hygienist, and I brought this conversation too. It's like the hygienist, I think that plays such a important and critical role in the office as well, because essentially they spend the most amount of time with our patients. And I believe that they build a relationship with that patient. They bring those patients back into the office. I mean, I had an issue where like there was inconsistency in our hygiene, and the patient wouldn't come back. They're like, I only want to work with that hygiene. So they play such an important role in the success of a practice. Like if you don't have consistency in your hygiene department, you can lose a lot of patients. So they're definitely, and the patient, like I said, some patients come back, see the hygienist 3-4 times a year. You don't even go to your doctor 3-4 times a year. So they play a very important role. So.
Exactly. I've had patients come in and, I'm not there and reschedule. People, especially ladies, we don't like to even go to the salon and see someone new. We want that dependable person that we know. When I was working clinically in the office that I grew up in my hygiene career, I saw generations. We spend 45, 50 minutes with that patient, and unless they have a problem, the doctor, he's in and out in 2 minutes. So your hygiene, not only promotes your office and it's, one of your best marketing tools, it feeds your practice. It feeds your schedule. So that's where I go to trust your hygienist, listen to your hygienist. We know what we're talking about a little bit.
And I had a quick question there. So is the relationship between the hygienist and the doctor kind of like a co-worker to co-worker relationship, or to boss and employee relationship? Like which one?
You have to keep it professional. I mean, the doctor's the boss, always.
Oh, okay.
The doctor is the boss.
You hear that, Masood?
Hey, yes,
the doctor is the boss. He's the clinician. He's the diagnostician. He's the boss. A hygienist should show that respect to their doctor. He's the one that has the final say. Even if a hygienist doesn't agree with that diagnosis, don't, especially over the patient, what the heck? You can have that spirited discussion, but it has to be a respectful discussion. And again, at the end of the day, the doctor, he's the big bad boss.
And what happens if you have, like, suppose you were working with Milad. Milad's been practicing for 2 years and you have 33 years of experience in dentistry. Who's the boss now? Is it still going to be Milad?
Yes. I mean, I've worked with young dentists and things like that. I've even taken to chairside assisting and help training that new dentist. Okay, doc, let's see where that little bit of decay is. I've even taught dentists how to make temporary. But at the end of the day, that dentist is the one that's in charge always.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in a young dentist, Dr. Oji, he's great. He's open-minded. He's young. If, he and I sat down and said, doc, let's try it this way. I would like to think that he would be like, oh, yeah. Now with an older doctor, it would be hard to do that. But, you have wealth of knowledge in your hygienist. Sit down and just, get to know them, pick their brains, see what they have to say. But yes, at the end of the day, the doctor he's the boss, or she is the boss.
But ultimately what you're trying to say is we need more Milads in our industry.
Yes. Don't tell him I said that.
Well, I do want to say, Mr. Renee, I think that, I honestly, the word of like, especially in our industry as a as a dentist, the boss and all that. That is stuff like it doesn't mean anything. I think it's more of like for me when I even came out of dental school, and I feel like I knew pretty good as far as like perio stuff. But like you said, I think it's more of like, for me, I always looked at it as a collaboration effort between myself and the hygienist, because there are things, even to this day, I'm amazed because I go into the office every day and I learned so much from the hygienist, from the assistants. I mean, there are things that we're learning on a day-to-day basis. So I think that, I always tell doctors that I talk to, I'm like, the idea of like working in a team, doesn't matter, hygiene, assistants, all that, I think is all a lot of like collaboration effort rather than anything else. And I think as long as we can collaborate with each other and agree with each other's opinion and respect it, I think a lot of amazing things can happen, because like you mentioned, like you have so many years of experience in the field of like hygiene side of things that way more than, I mean, the doctors that come out, I think they're equipped with the hygienist stuff, but I'm sure you know things that I don't know. And as you know, when we worked together, there were things that you were used to say, and I was like, man, I never heard of this. And then, but it was a learning opportunity for me to say, okay, I can do this differently next time, even with the periodiagnostic. So I think it's so important, because we don't diagnose every day the perio stuff, so the hygienists do. So I think it's so important for the doctors to take that. Like you said, it's just, if they come in and say, hey doc, I think this is gingivitis, don't go in and say it's a prophy, because your hygienists do this on a day in, day out. We can't come in and ask you to do a crown prep, because you're gonna be like, well, I don't do the crown preps. You do hygienist stuff all day, every day. So it's like you said, you just have to respect your hygienist's opinion, because that's what they do all day.
Exactly. I mean, you guys got a semester of perio?
If we're lucky.
If they're lucky. So yeah. No, you couldn't have said it better myself. Exactly. It's, it's a team effort.
Master, I know you have questions. This guy is always thinking.
I know, I can see his wheels turning. I love it.
Yeah, I'm always thinking and trying to come up with kind of like questions that I have. And majority of the times other people have those kind of questions too.
Yeah.
So, okay, now that makes sense. I was just going to share a little story. I don't know if I should say it or not. Like, I don't know if it would be offensive. I hope it's not. Early on in our line of work, like we've built something that handles phone calls for dental clinics, AI. And early on, it was this clinic that we onboarded, and they have a hygienist named something, I'm not going to mention her. And when we were designing the model, it was saying Dr. something. And then it did that once, and then it was the clinic's doctor that was calling her AI and talking to it, and then it said, Doctor, that is not available. And then that doctor got pretty offended, and he was like, why is she a doctor? Like, she's not supposed to be called a doctor. And then the office manager called me, and she was super mad. I was like, chill, it's okay, we'll change it.
It's okay. It's easy. It's easy.
That crazy, but I don't know, it seemed pretty offensive to them. So can you tell me why?
Well, you guys have worked hard for that DMD or DDS or doctor, and you should be proud of that. Hygienists, we have BAs, we have BSs, things of that nature, but you guys worked hard for that, and you should be proud of that. So, I don't see any reason why the doctor wouldn't be offended or would be offended. Again, you guys worked hard for that. Take ownership for that, own it. And, on your side, I'm sure it was just, oops.
Yeah, on my side, it wasn't even a big deal. Like, I didn't even know that take it that seriously, that like a hygienist shouldn't be called a doctor.
Yeah.
And then she mentioned that 3 times on the call. She was like, so I want to mention this to you 3 times so that you don't forget. A hygienist is not a doctor.
The doctor. No, nope. We are an RDH or CRDH or RDHBA. Yeah.
Yeah.
Different initials. Yep.
It's all the title.
It's all in the title.
It's just the title. And the DDS, the DMD, we don't work that hard, Ms. Renee. Don't make it that big.
I know you don't.
Please don't fill the egos of a bunch of dentists, please.
No, I mean, if it was me, because I've known Milad, and you just mentioned that you've been 33 years in the dental industry, like, I wouldn't try to put a title on any of you guys, because Milad's working hard, you've been working hard as well. It's just that they were in different areas. Like, Milad was more than you were, but at the same time, you were working more, so you have more experience than Milad does. You see what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, and I learned a lot from Dr. Oji as well. I'm old school, and he's new school. So getting to sit down and collaborate with him, when I was in Nashville, in the office that he was in, it was always a treat just to sit down and toss ideas around. Like I said, I'm so old school that I've hand dipped x-rays and mixed my own amalgam with the mercury and the little pellets. That's how old I am. So, learning new technology and AI and things like that, you said it earlier, let's learn something new every day.
I like that.
Yeah, Master, do you want to remind Miss Renee that when she did the thing, you were born? Do you want to tell her that?
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. I will not answer any more questions.
No, that was funny.
So, Miss Renee, I just want to kind of ask you this. You've been in the, you've been kind of in the hygiene world for a long time, and you know exactly. Well, don't want to say. I mean, you've been in it for a long time. But what do you think is so right now, from the past time to right now, what do you think is one of the biggest barrier in the hygiene world right now? Just in general, what do you think is one of the challenges, the barrier that is in the market of the hygiene right now?
Time.
Time.
Not enough time in your schedule, not enough time to get everything done. The biggest pushback that I get from hygienists is, you want me to do what? I only have this much time. And, I love you guys to death, but doctors are like emotional vampires, because we spend a third of our appointments standing in the hallway, staring at the back of your head, waiting for an exam. So, you have to learn how to balance that. There's a lot of different tricks of how to get all of that in there, doing that digital scan, doing that perio probing, taking those bite wings, updating that FMX. If they haven't had an FMX in 5 years, we need to update that full mouth series, and just getting everything done. When I started in hygiene, I only had 40 minutes a patient. Fortunately, I was young and fast, but it was spit and get. You didn't have time to connect, to educate, to diagnose, to treat. There was no working in same day treatment or anything like that. So yeah, the biggest barrier that I see for most hygienists is time. Just not having enough time to get everything done. And again, just waiting for that doctor's exam. There's more efficient ways to get that system in place, to get that doctor in there, short of throwing an eraser at the back of his head or something like that.
So that's just for me to know, like, what are some ways that you think that, dentists can improve on that, or like help the hygienists kind of fix those timings? Because I think that's more of like, hey, I think that's more of a clinical level that, like, what do you think are the ways that we can improve on that? Or do we like give the hygienist more time? Do you put less patient on the schedule? Like, what are some of the ways?
You can, for me, when I talk with offices, a good preventive recall appointment is an hour. You can be productive with 8 to 9 patients a day. It's not about what you do. If you treat your patients well, if you connect with your patients and you show genuine concern about their oral health, their overall health, and things like that, your production's going to come. So, I know it's a scary thought for some of these doctors that are doing 45, 50-minute allotted profies. I mean, your hygienists, they're going to be frustrated because they're always going to be behind schedule, unless they are just a metahuman and can clean teeth at the speed of light. 60 minutes is good. 90 minutes is great for a new patient, because that's where you get a lot of pushback from hygienists. If your new patients fall on your hygiene schedule, 90 minutes is great, because, you have to do that new patient review. You need to sit down and talk to them about their health history. Take that blood pressure. Always take blood pressure when, even if it's just a regular recall patient, because you want to get that baseline. If a patient just sits down in your chair, their blood pressure is 400 over 350, you won't touch that. They're going to stroke out in your chair. But, getting to know them, take that outside inside approach, get to know them on the outside, and the whole time, you can kind of combine that, watch how they walk. Are they sluggish? Are they, they have a little pep in their step? You're already evaluating their extraoral tissues, but getting to know that patient, reviewing that health history before you start snapping away at x-rays. You're going to take that full mouth series, you're going to take a pan, because they serve, 2 different purposes, of course. And you want them to do a digital scan. A digital scanner sells treatment by itself, whether it's perio, restorative, orthodontic, whatever. You want to have a wellness scan. Unless you're really fast with it, it's going to take 3-4 minutes just to do a scan. You got to do a comprehensive perio chart. You've got to talk to your patient, educate your patient, get the doctor in. He's going to do his comp exam. You've already eaten up an hour right there, easy. And if you want to work in same day treatment, you're only going to have 30 minutes left. So, you you've got to be not scared to extend those appointment times. You can be more productive. The patient gets the experience that they want, because if they don't like you, they're going to go down the street. Here in Alabama, in North Alabama, there's a dental office on every corner, and they're in network with your insurance too. So you've got to give your hygienist time to connect with that patient, because they're going to sell your practice for you.
You said North Alabama has a dentist in every corner. I thought you guys only have one stop sign.
Well, we only have 4 teeth in the whole state.
Miss Van, I throw this at you because you made that joke in one dinner we went together, and I still that's the state of Alabama is the state that they invented toothbrushing.
Exactly.
Is that actually true? Really?
No. But we did send a man to the moon.
That's right. That's right.
In my city.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a
So
question.
can you ask
Which
about the appointment types, if you don't mind?
I'm sorry?
Can you ask a question about appointment types, like new
Mhm.
patient recall?
Yeah.
Like so much want to know. Well, maybe I have to be super frank here. I work in the dental industry. Luckily enough, I've never been to a dentist myself. I got pretty clean teeth. Never something happened to them. Maybe next time I go, you said that they usually run those checks and they tell you that there are so many things wrong with your teeth.
You're on a dental podcast and you're going to admit you've never been to the dentist. Wow.
Yeah. I just thought maybe I
Oh,
should.
Canada.
I picked wrong
Canada.
partner.
You did.
I see a fire, bro. Get up from the bed.
for Canada.
Good teeth.
Oh, Canada. Anyway.
So can you tell us about the different appointment types, like new patient?
So,
I have knowledge about that. I mean, I'm in the dental industry. I do have a lot of knowledge about that, but I want to see it from your point of view, because we book a lot of appointments with our system every day. See from I've never talked to a hygienist about the different appointment types, so would love
So,
to.
there's always the new patient appointment types, and there's 2 different ways to do it. You can bring them in on their hygiene chair. Some offices bring them in on the doctor's schedule. They have a new patient chair. In the hygienist, all they do is go in and do their perio probing, do their oral cancer screen. Blackjack, I'm done. I'll see you at your. And then a preventive appointment is just your prophy appointment. Typically, that's 60 minutes long. You do perio charting, you update any X-rays, you do a prophylaxis, get the teeth clean, any adjuncts that they may need, like sealants or anything like that. You can knock that out in 60 minutes. We have perio maintenance appointments. So those are for people who have been through a gum infection therapy, through, scaling and root planing. They come in every 3-4 months because we have to we've treated the disease and now we have to maintain them. So we don't want it to rear its ugly head again. So they have to come in more frequently. Typically they're 60 minutes. The great thing about those appointments is they don't have to have a doctor's exam every time. And if they're doing their part at home, I'm not going to say easy appointments, but they're less complicated appointments. You're going to have to perio chart them every time they come in. And, we'll touch a little bit about that in a minute on how to break down that barrier on the time of perio charting, because that's time consuming. And then there's the scale and root planing, the perio appointments. Typically they, break them down into 2 quadrants of appointment, which, it depends on your hygienist skill. You can get through 2 quads in an hour, unless you're, if you're giving anesthesia, you might want to get a little bit longer. And if you're doing all 4 quadrants, you're going to need at least an hour and a half at the very least, because that's a lot. That's, that's going in there, sandblasting below the gums, irrigating out, killing bacteria, doing laser therapy. You're going to need a little bit longer time. And again, it depends on your hygienist skill set. If they're right out of school, they're going to be slower than Christmas. I've seen hygienists that are just out of school. It'll take them 3 hours to do 2 quads. And you're like, but they pick up speed and they gain confidence and things like that. And then, you have your follow-up appointments after like gingivitis therapy, things like that. That's just, reprobe and polish. And those typically cost about 30 minutes. Shouldn't take too long at all.
And what about unscheduled treatments? What are they mostly about? Like, what kind of treatments are there mostly unscheduled?
In hygiene?
In hygiene and other types of treatments.
Oh, but patients don't like to come back for perio treatment, of course. Now, the biggest I've found motivating factors of why people don't accept treatment is, fear. No one likes to go to the dentist. Time and money. And if it's not broken and if it doesn't hurt, it doesn't need to be fixed. Those are your C patients. You have 3 different types of patients. You have your A patients who do whatever you want them to do in a timely manner. I need a crown. Let's do it. Can you do it today? You have your B patients. They're going to get around to it. And you have your C patients that are going to call at 4:00 on a Friday with an abscess and their eye is swollen shut. And the hard part about, with those, you have to treat those C patients the same way that you treat your A patients, because they can send you for your 4 A patients, of course. But, it's fear and money, because, we've got into the mindset in dentistry today of same day dentistry. I can do that for you today, no problem. You've got time, you're here. Let's knock that crown out, especially with digital scanners, CAD CAM, things of that nature. You don't have to come back and have this crown delivered. You can go grab some Starbucks, come back, we'll put this crown in for you. Most of the time it's money. It's money. My insurance is, it's only going to pay 50% of this crown, or, I don't have insurance. So we have to be mindful of helping our patients get the treatment that they need. Going above and beyond, especially for a good patient, because again, there's a dentist office on every corner, except in Alabama where we only have 4 teeth. So.
No, Miss Renee, yeah, that's everything you said. It makes absolute sense, especially like in the time that we're in. Dental offices, they're focused like same day, let's get it in, get it done. But the biggest challenge, as we face the same challenges. I face that day in, day out. And I talk to my patients all the time about this. I'm like, I don't understand why in the US, dental insurances, I believe that the dental insurances are just not efficient. They give patients dental insurances. They have to wait 6 months for major procedure. They give a $1,500 per year. I'm like, that's not going to do anything for that patient when their SRP is like $2,000. And then you add on all this other stuff. It's overwhelming for patients. And honestly, like, I personally advocate for this all the time. It's like, I think they need to do a better job of providing better dental insurance. Should.
Yeah. And we sadly, dental insurance dictate how we treat our patients.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we're tied.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing you mentioned, I found that, I came out of dental school, there were some challenges, and, that's whole the idea of like DentPen came about. But I wanted to know, like, you work with a lot of young young hygienists and young dentists. But for the hygiene side of things in their world, like, what are some of their challenges when they transition out of school into the real world? Like, for the hygiene, what are some of the challenges that you see they're having? Are they adapting okay to the outside environment? Like, are the transitions pretty smooth? Like, what are some of the things that you're seeing that they're faced with when they transition out?
Again, confidence, not only in, their craft, but how to talk to their patients, how to use the correct verbiage, show empathy, and, be empathetic to their patients. That's where, when you're in hygiene school, same with dental school, you have your patients and you have all day to do them. You go into your first hygiene job and you're like, you want me to do what in 60 minutes? So, I find that when a hygienist first comes out of school, the office that they go into needs to take that into consideration and let them dip their toe into the pool, because they're not going to have the same speed. They're not going to have the same confidence. They're not going to be able to talk to their patients like a hygienist that's got 5+ years of experience. I think that that's probably their biggest challenge. And then, just the workload. I always stress to a new hygienist, always take care of your core. Always use your ergonomics. Because after you've been in this for 10 years, this is how your head's going to be for forever. Same for dentists. I mean, you guys are like this all day long. Same with a hygienist. So, take care of your neck, take care of your back. Saddle chairs are your best friends. Loops are your best friends. But, a new hygienist should always find a mentor, I think. Even if it's just a doctor, another hygienist, things like that. And more seasoned hygienists should be open to being that mentor for new hygienists, to help them with the confidence and the speed, and just, being able to talk to the patients about something as simple as fluoride, why they need it, instead of just saying, you want to do fluoride today? So, yeah, I think that's some of their biggest challenges, because they don't know what the real world is like. They've got their shiny new degrees, they're ready to go, they're all excited. And then after a week, they're like, this is hard. So, my best advice to a new hygienist and a new doctor is find someone to, to lean on, to depend on. That's why I think what you guys are doing is so great, especially for new doctors that are coming out of dental school, because you guys don't have any idea either.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Well, I gotta ask the burning question, and Masood burned me with this question, so I want to burn him back. But I'm gonna light him. I'm gonna light him slowly. So
Sorry, guys. I guess someone's
Masood
calling me.
is working hard to put the DSOs out of business. No, I'm kidding. Kidding.
80%.
Oh my gosh.
But either way, Masood burn my ass with that question last week.
Oh my God.
But I want to kind of get your expert opinion, because me and you, we both work for DSOs. We understand what the DSO model is, and I mention that all the time. The DSOs are great for the industry. They give accessibility to the patients. What is your thought process on the whole DSO world? Do you think they're good? Do you think they're bad? Do you think they're doing good for the industry? Like, what is your thought process on the whole DSO model?
If they're structured and, if they have systems and processes in place, and it's not all willy-nilly, let's try this, let's just throw it against the wall, see if it sticks. If they are a good seasoned company, if they're a great DSO and they have their ducks in a row, it's going to work. The biggest thing is valuing what they have. Take value in your doctors. Take value all the way down to, your hygiene assistants, your rovers, your sterile techs. No one person is better than any other person. They're not. The worst feeling in the world, especially when you're in that corporate setting, is not feeling valued. And it doesn't have to be, I don't feel valued from, our CEO, because 3 times out of 10 or 9 times out of 10, they're not ever going to meet that CEO. So, not feeling valued from your team players and things like that. And if a DSO has processes and systems in place and they practice what they preach, then you should enjoy going to work every day. Dentistry should be a passion. It really should. I always tell people, they'll ask me how I've been in it for so long. You either love it or you hate it. And if you hate it, you're gonna burn out. So as long as they have it together, as long as they value what they have, because access to care is great. That's the thing with DSOs. They're in network with pretty much every insurance company under the sun. But if your teams aren't happy, it's just going to be constantly that revolving door, and that's gonna affect your patient retention. Seeing a different face every time you come in, seeing a different doctor every time you come in. So they have to take care of their key components, because they're the spirit of the whole corporation, is the people that are out there in the offices.
Yeah, that's so true. I've been to many offices, and I'm sure the office that we were in is like, that was one of the biggest things. I think the patients love that consistency in the office. When they come in, they see the same doctor, they come in, they see the same hygienist. We had Dr. Arnold on last Friday, and he said the same thing. It's like, you got to take care of the staff, man. You got to take care of the people that are there. If they're not, and you're not valuing them, and you're just saying, this is just another piece of paper, and then we're going to replace it with somebody else. Like, it just doesn't do anything. If somebody wants to get paid more and they value that, just pay them more. I'm not saying go out to the moon, but like, you feel them, you value them, you give them a little bit extra here, a little extra there, and they feel valued. They're going to stay. They're going to work harder. They're going to value their work. Like you said, they're going to build that passion. The office, now, the patient sometimes says, oh man, like, you are the 5th doctor I've seen in the past 7 months. So like, the patient gets tired of it, man. They're like, man, I'm just going to go somewhere else. Like, they don't have their stuff together. So I absolutely resonate with that. I think it's so important for they just need to kind of take, and that was another thing too. It's like, do you think that the DSOs, would that be beneficial if like the people that are running those DSOs are like dentists run? Do you think that's going to improve things in the long term?
No.
Okay.
And I say that clinically, yes. But, unless that dentist is just business mindset, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes with, running a DSO and things like that. You have to leave it to the people that are the MBAs and things like that, I think. Bouncing off what you just said, in today's climate, it's so hard to find a hygienist, and it's so hard to find an assistant right now. You have to value what you have, because, I'll go down the street, $10 more an hour, and they'll appreciate me. And then you're stuck with temp hygienists for the next 6-8 months until you find a new one. hygienists, and assistants too, FDAs, even new assistants, they hold the cards right now because everyone is constantly looking. It's that post-COVID mindset.
Why do you think the hygienists are? I think this conversation came about. I think within the next few years, the hygienists are going to look at different career path or look at different things. Why do you think that is happening in the industry?
A lot of it, I think, is you still have the COVID mindset, of course, and I think the glamour of hygiene, it's faded away. People, it's more, of a fast track. It takes a special person to do hygiene. It takes a special person to be in dentistry, period, because it's a hard job and it's an unappreciative job. And, I think in today's time, people, they want to be more appreciated and, get paid $80, $90 an hour. Oh, yeah. Hygienists make bank. Yeah.
Man, I hardly pay my hygienist $5 now.
Well, she's probably just sucking spit. It's a profi meal, right? But the thing about, paying a hygienist a lot of money is and I say this with the deepest respect for my craft, if, you're paying your hygienist a lot of money and they're only, 18% of your revenue, something's going on there because, a healthy hygiene program should be 33 to 35% of your revenue. Your hygienist is an investment and you need a return on that investment. And that's when you have to sit down and you have to have that hard conversation or call someone like me or whomever to have those conversations with the hygienist. What are we missing here? And, I think a lot of hygienists now are just, maybe they're just in it for a paycheck. I don't know. I don't know why, everyone's just fading out from it, which is sad.
Do you think a lot of it is going back to this conversation that you're having? Do you think that they don't feel, think that they're not valued in the industry, or is that what it is?
Could be.
It could be. I think that's a lot of it has to do, I think, with that too. I think a lot of it is just like I said, going back to when we started it, I think, us as a doctor, and I'm saying that, not trying to be disrespectful, but sometimes certain doctors can have so much ego within themselves that they feel like crazy amount of egos. Well, we know that. And I think that sometimes we forget that, we're dealing with humans. And I think that, like you said, we just have to respect their opinion.
Exactly.
Be open-minded with what they say, learn from one another, collaborate as much as possible. And I think that's just going to retain your hygienists more, and they're going to want to stay in the industry more. So let's ask questions. I'm running out of breath.
I got a question that I can, it's kind of somewhat parallel, and it comes from a clinical protocols, because you've done a lot with clinical protocols. So based on your experience, what protocols would you suggest to improve hygiene efficiency, and then on the other end, to improve care quality?
That's a good question. There's a lot of things that you can get done in an hour, like perio charting. It always blows my mind when I go into a practice and do a chart audit, and they have patients in there that they haven't been perio charted for 5, 6, 7, never. And a lot of doctors and hygienists, they don't realize that that's the biggest liability ever in a dental practice, is not perio charting those patients. And I don't have time. So, there's a lot of shortcuts that you can do aside from tripping someone as they go down the hallway to come in and record the numbers for you, which I've done. I'll admit it. There's so many great tools that you can use now. A lot of softwares have voice recognition. Unfortunately, in the South, it doesn't recognize Southern. So it doesn't work down here quite as well because it doesn't register 9 or 5 or 1. But, I always encourage hygienists that don't have the voice recognition software, get a digital recorder, because the biggest thing for a patient, if they hear those numbers, they're going to help co-diagnose, because you're going to explain what those numbers mean in a way that the patient understands. We're going to call out some number. You're going to explain how the pocket is shaped. And when they hear 4s and 5s, they're going to pay attention to that. So it's very crucial for, the patient to hear those numbers. So get a digital recorder. Everyone has a smartphone. You have a digital recorder on your smartphone. Put a piece of light handle cover across that screen and record yourself. The patient's heard it, and you can go back in later and put it in. There's these great things now. There's little Bluetooth that is just a number pad for your keyboard that you can just bring over in front of you. And, that way You're not 3-2-3 having to turn 3-2-3, and you can do it that way. But to me, the biggest thing is just getting those digital recorders, because you're killing two birds with one stone. They're hearing it. You're faster. And of course, I always urge practices if they're healthy, have that hygiene assistant that can run in the room and write those numbers down for them. And then, alternating those x-rays. Don't try to do it all in one appointment. Don't update those 4 bite wings and those 3 PAs and that perio chart, their pano and all that in 60 minutes. You're not going to get it done. Alternate that. This 6 months, I'm going to update your vertical, horizontal bite wings. I'm going to take those anterior PAs. Next visit, we'll do your full mouth perio chart. And, and it frees it up. So don't work harder, work smarter. Don't be afraid to let your doctor come in the middle of your appointment and do your exam. If he's free, trip him, get in there, do that exam. All you have to do is scoot back, because most of the time you guys don't sit down anyway. Just raise that chair up for the doc. Hey, doc, Miss Smith, no changes in our health history. We did a perio probe today. Everything looks good. Could you take a look at number 3? That amalgam on the mesial cusp looks a little funky. Yep, you're right. Miss Smith, I think we need to get in here and do a crown on this tooth before it breaks. Renee's going to take a picture of it and show you what it looks like. And the doctor's done. He's left, and you can finish your appointment or work out a great system of when the doctor comes in and does the exam. I've put clothespins on a doctor's lab coat. Sticky notes. A hygienist can communicate with the assistant team. If, your hygiene team is lined up in that hallway like airplanes, like we do, and we're standing there with that look on our face because we're hangry and, we're 15 minutes behind, or it's 30 minutes into lunch. We'll talk with those assistants. Hey, doc, let's let Miss Jones have a break. And that way that'll be his cue to, go check that hygiene. And then, consolidate a lot of things. I would always, when I'm reviewing that health history and taking that blood pressure, go ahead and make the 4-month recall appointment for your patient. That way, it's already fresh in your mind. You're already at the keyboard while you're taking the blood pressure. You can go ahead and schedule the appointment. Bing, bang, bung. You're done. Your front desk is going to love you. And just work more. Just, do 10 million things at once and have a smile on your face and be happy about it.
Use the tech. Utilize the tech, because there is tech that can help the digital record.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Exactly.
So go
Use
for
that
it, buddy.
tech.
So,
I know. I
next
see
questions.
it.
Yeah, it's going on in there. I had a question about your different roles. You've been in sales. You've been in
I worked with Patterson.
that was the year. You've been an office manager, and
That was the year you were born, Master? Is that what you were trying to say?
No, not what I was trying to say. And you've been a hygienist ever since. So which one do you like most, like sales?
My husband asked me that question the other day. I miss being chairside, either as an assistant or a hygienist, interacting with those patients, helping them achieve their health, things of that nature. But, with every season, we evolve. And when you get to my season, which we're going to call autumn, yeah, I love where I am at in my career. I love going out, helping hygienists and doctors understand that, it's not just a job, it's a passion, and help rekindling that passion for them, helping them work more efficiently, things like that. And every once in a while, I'd love to get back in the chair and do some scaling and root planning. So, that's a tough question. It really is. I think my passion, I loved assisting. I really loved being an assistant, making the temporaries and doing things like that. So I guess it depends on the season of my life. So yeah, thanks for making me think there.
Well, Miss Renee, I just wanted to let you know something. When I moved to Nashville and I worked for the company we both work for, and I met you, you were always so kind. You always came in with a smile on your face. Every time you were there, my day was much better.
Aww.
And I truly mean that. I'm not just saying just to say it. Every time we went to the outings together, you always went around, make everybody a smile, made everybody happy. So just your presence in the room always brought a smile to our face. And every time I reached out to you and anything I ever asked you, you always were willing to help. In today's world, it's definitely hard to find people like yourself that are willing.
That was sweet. I appreciate that.
Want to help and want to kind of guide a young doctor like me into this crazy world. And I truly want to say thank you. I really appreciate it. it means a lot that I meet people like yourself along my journey, and just make my time just a little bit more fun, a little better. The one thing that, everybody made me a little better as a person, but Masood just brought my talent down by about 2 degrees.
Oh my
I
gosh.
feel less
I can
talented.
tell that I could see that. I could see that. It's because they're so young.
But I tell you this, Masood, so this gentleman, he actually built, so when you call a dental office and nobody answers the phone, this gentleman built an amazing product called Allo AI. So when you call the phone
Wow.
and your reception is on their phone and texting their boyfriends and girlfriends, Allo AI kicks in and answers that phone for you. So
That's amazing.
yes, he might be young, but he's a genius, man.
He's smart.
Super
I'm
smart.
I'm a little intimidated right now. I think I'm going to steer back just a little bit.
Yes, don't let those eyebrows fool you.
I'm loving the eyebrows. Thank you very much. I've got eyebrow envy.
Well, Miss Renee, I really truly appreciate your time. I don't want to hold you up again.
No, thank you so much for having me.
I really enjoyed this conversation. From us to you, please come back whenever.
Yeah, whenever you guys need me, just let me know.
I really thank you. Thank you so much. I hope I see you locally again. Come back to Tennessee. Let me know. Let's hang out.
I'm just down the road.
Yay. I may come back to your town, come up to your town with the 4 teeth and one stop.
Okay, we got the Space and Rocket Center. You'll have fun.
All right, Miss Renee.
Thanks, guys, so much.
Appreciate it, Renee. Thank you very
Bye,
much.
guys.
Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Till next
Thank you.
time. Cheers.